We will be in the air approximately 2 hours. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking.
Pretty good from home up to no hiccups. It's been pretty good.
It's absolutely beautiful. I'm enjoying it. I love it. Can I
and guys, let's have fun.
How awesome is that? That was our little trip to Cape Town last week with a bunch of first-time travelers. These are people who'd never been in planes before. They'd never stayed in a hotel before. Never seen Cape Town before.
I know, right?
And all of that adventure happened in the space of 2 days.
Yes.
Pretty wild. So Simphiwe was there to take notes and to show people around and to enjoy herself as well. And it was loads of fun.
I will also admit I laughed at a lot of people.
Yeah. When you see people doing things for the first time and they don't know what to expect, like, you take for granted getting into a plane and that it's going to lift off the ground.
Yes. And then you hear someone just like, yeah, Mudimu. Just died. I was like,
Very good.
Yes. And then there was another lady, if you guys saw, there was a lady in a life jacket. She didn't want to go on the boat. She was like, I'm going to die. Like, let's play. Halfway through the cruise now, she's dancing. She's like, this is the best thing ever. And you just look and you laugh and you're like, oh, wow. This is so cute. It's so cute. So, yeah.
All right. Well, we are live this morning. It is Friday. We're going to talk to someone just now who is a water sommelier. Now, you know what a wine sommelier is? It's someone who comes to your table in very fancy restaurants and says to you, these are the wines we have, and I'll tell you why you need to have this wine with that food. They know everything about it. They know what the cultivars are. They know what kinds of notes you'll taste and smell in the wine. They know exactly what the legs on the glass mean, all of that cool stuff. So we drink a lot more water than we do wine, unless you're an alcoholic. And yet, most people just go to the tap, drink, and hope it's okay. Or they buy a bottle of something at the garage.
Or at my friend.
Or at your friend. We'll talk about that in a minute. Simphiwe has brought some interesting water. Yeah, we brought some different kinds of water. Yes. So we'll get those too. And then we will talk you through what it takes to be a water sommelier. But before we get to that, I did mention while we were talking about women and beauty products and the beauty industry, that one of the richest people in the world is this woman, and Simphiwe has a picture of her for us. Her name is Françoise Bettencourt.
Yes.
And she's worth $100 billion.
Yes.
100 billion.
Yeah. And the reason why there's a bit of a hoo-ha about her.
Oh. I mean, I was going to say, doesn't matter what she looks like, I'm in, but Hi, bo.
You know my philosophy. There's no ugly billionaire. Gareth, there's no ugly billionaire.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So the reason why she's in the news is because she has broken into the $100 billion club,
Hmm.
and she's the first woman to do it. So only men have been in this club. Like Elon Musk is in it,
Yeah. Sure.
and there's a lot of other guys in it. There's about like 15 other men
Right.
who are part of this like club, this exclusive club, and now she's wangled in and the shares and the things. She works for like L'Oreal.
Well, she doesn't work for it. She
What?
inherited it.
Yes, she's the vice chair of the
Yeah.
French
Yeah. She.
cosmetic
So again,
L'Oreal.
let's just look at the story here. She is the richest woman in the world at
Yes,
the moment.
at the moment.
As Sim said, she just crossed the 100 billion mark.
Eh,
But what's amazing about her is that she's the granddaughter of Eugene Schuyler, who was the founder of L'Oreal, who was a man. So she may be the first woman to 100 million, but the money was made by a man. Sorry, girls, you
Yeah.
can't claim this as some kind of success
it's
for women.
generational wealth.
No, I'm sorry.
She-
Eugene Schuyler, who was her grandfather, was the founder of L'Oreal, the world's leading company in cosmetics and beauty. Her mother, or yeah, her mother was Liliane Bettencourt, who was the one who inherited from her father. So they've managed to take this much money and make it that much money.
Then make it even.
But that's not that hard. I mean, money makes money. The money was first made by her grandfather, and good for her. She's not
Yeah.
she's not making it smaller. Normally, money gets much smaller over the generations, and by
Oh,
the time
yes.
it gets to the fourth one, there's none left.
Yeah, but she definitely fits that billionaire club. They all look weird, all of them. Like each and every single one
Yeah.
of them. She also has the weird eyes going on. Girl, for someone who's in beauty,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
a
yeah,
bit
yeah.
worried.
I always thought the
But
best
yeah,
the best example of that was always Donatella Versace, right? Who was
yes,
like this fashion. Yeah, her husband, not her husband, sorry, her brother was Gianni Versace,
yes,
who of course was this fashion genius. I don't know that she was ever that good on her own, or whether it was just because her brother was Versace. Anyway, she was this woman in fashion. And Donatella Versace is one of the scariest looking people I've ever seen in my life. If she came around a corner on a dark night and I was unprepared and she would, oh, no, I would, oh, there'd be something running down the back of my leg. I tell you what, not great. So, yes, it is funny that all these people who are at the top of the world of fashion themselves are not such great looking people.
yeah. And then they sell us this aesthetic, and then they're
Yeah.
like, you also want to look like this.
No.
You can achieve this look, and then you realize she ain't buying into that nonsense herself.
Right.
She ain't doing it. But shout out to her. Congratulations.
Well done.
Well
100
done.
million, 100 billion. And it's not a small amount of money. I wonder what she's going to do with it. She better not spend it all at once.
I doubt it.
You know how your grandmother always says, here's some money for you, 5 rand. Don't spend it all at once.
You're like,
It's going to be hard to spend that over 3 weeks. Let's just put it that way. That's not the case here.
yeah.
Françoise Bettencourt Myers. She's not 70 years old.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm
She's got 2 kids.
Hey man, those kids are living very happy, If
Are they? You
money
see,
solves everything. So
again, I'll refer to that clip that I saw just not so long ago with Jimmy Carr saying some of the unhappiest people he has ever met are the children and grandchildren of really rich people, because they don't have any purpose and they're never given a purpose, because the thing that most of us work for
yes,
is money.
that is true. Can I just go on a bit of a rant?
Go on.
Whilst we're talking
Let's
about
do it.
like
We had
rich kids.
Jack was ranting his backside off on Wednesday. Now it's your turn. Go, Sim.
So just about rich kids and this whole purpose thing, right? We all know the Kardashians, and we all know that Chloe, Kim, Courtney, they all have kids, right? But the only kid that seems to be in the limelight is North.
That's Kanye and
Yes,
Kim's
Kim
child.
Kardashian's kid. And recently, people got talking, and she was trending because she was part of the Lion King 30th anniversary Broadway show.
Oh,
Yeah. And she just did a small part, not like she was part of the entire production, but it looked like she was unprepared.
Of course she was.
She was just like, moving like this, saying the words more than singing it. She acted like the young Simba. Her costume wasn't fitting for the production. They got
Is
her
this
like
North or Kim?
no
Oh,
Northwest, the kid, right?
oh, right.
And they were talking about how like, oh no, she obviously she got put there because of her parents and the Kardashians, and that she wouldn't have gotten this on merit.
Hmm.
And the reality is, guys, in this world, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And it just seems like North is going to be set up for a very public life. Like that's what they want for her. So they're putting her in the limelight, they're making her do all these things. And yet all the other kids in the Kardashian clan get to have normal lives. And I feel sorry for her. She's 10 years old and we're already like, you can't sing, you can't do this, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's starting young. Like
Well, there's
by
that.
16, she's gonna be on drugs.
There's that, and you remember when the grandmother, Chris,
Woo.
she couldn't remember the name of like one of the grandchildren.
Yes. She's just like,
Great.
nah.
Yeah. Lovely family.
Yeah, and
Very
it's just
good.
like one of those where this is how also rich kids get messed up because now they have to be part of the circus of keeping up with, I guess in this case, keeping up with the Kardashians and that lifestyle. It's like, is that what she wants for herself? No, but she's out here singing, dancing at 10.
Well, we're going to be talking to someone in a moment who is an expert in water. And I think this is going to be fairly fascinating. I mean, I drink a lot of water. I drink
Mhm.
probably about 3 liters of water a day. They tell you it's very healthy to do that.
Yes.
Shouldn't drink like 8 liters a day, you'll die.
Yes.
But you also shouldn't drink like none because
True.
that's very bad for you. And you are made up of, I think, 70% of you is water.
Yes.
So you need to know your stuff.
You need to drink water.
And we just go and we buy water if you are at work or on the road, or you drink it from the tap, and you don't realize like what's in there.
Yeah, but also people say water has a taste.
It does,
Um,
definitely.
So
Definitely.
that's also one thing. Like sometimes people be like, this water doesn't taste good, or
It
that water
definitely
tastes
has a
off.
taste.
And I'm just curious to find out what causes that sometimes. You
Okay,
know?
well, we're going to find out because you're in luck, Simphiwe. You're in luck. This morning, we're going to talk to Candice Jansen, who is a water sommelier. She's a renowned figure in the world of water, dedicating her life to giving water value, which I think, I mean, it already has, but good for her that she's busy making people a little more aware and helping us to understand more about water. So she's changing the world through a bit of storytelling, and I've seen her online. She's advocating for a water secure future and making water the hero again. You can find out more by going to her website, which is CandiceJansen.com. So first and foremost, it's really nice to have you here. Yeah, and I think what you're doing is fascinating. When James told me he was going to bring you in, I was like, absolutely, because this is something we should be talking about a lot more,
Mhm.
and people are not. They're not paying attention. Water is life. That's what they tell us.
I think people have always just said to me, Candice, there's so many other problems in the world. Like, why do you need to make this one of them?
Yeah.
But it's true. It's a conversation that we need to have, from your tap water to bottled water.
So how did you get into this?
Mhm.
Well,
We have time,
it's
girl.
quite a story. I think I've always been a kindred spirit.
Okay.
I haven't been somebody who's had to go out and find my purpose in life. My purpose found me.
Right.
So I've been grateful for that. And I've tried to use this time to really change people's perspectives, because I looked at it and I said, everybody, no matter where you are in the world, has the same water education.
Yeah.
Whether you're collecting water in a bucket or you're sitting at a restaurant in Hyde Park,
Right.
you've got the same understanding of water, and that needed to change. So I pursued that. I said, how can I change people? How can I get them to be invested in something that I love so much?
Well,
so I've exhausted all options.
when you came up with the name water sommelier, because I think that's really clever. I mean, people take wine hugely seriously. They take
Mhm.
other spirits massively seriously. Coffee, for example, people are very, very serious about. But a constituent part of all of that is water.
Great.
And maybe you drink wine, especially a fancy wine, a couple of times in your life. But water you drink every day. You should be paying more attention to this.
Good.
Right.
Great.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I actually do think this is massively important. People don't really know where their water comes from. They don't know very much about it. If you if you had distilled water, which is water that has been where everything else has been removed.
Yes.
So it's water that is essentially evaporated
Yes.
and then
They capture the condensate.
reconstituted
Yes.
with none of the chemicals that are all kept in the solids after you boil it out.
But this is not ideal for drinking.
No.
This is for your nebulizer.
The reason I use distilled water in some of the things because I've got a laboratory at home and I actually do chemical experiments. So you can't have other impurities in the water. But that's not what we drink, and it wouldn't be nice to drink anyway. And that is tasteless, and it's odorless, and it's boring.
And it's boring, and it's also got no nutritional value.
Yeah.
Nutritional value comes from water.
Right.
Water has calcium and magnesiums and potassium, things that are essential for your well-being. And people completely overlook that, thinking we get it from our food. But Mother Nature's crafted water like that.
Well,
That's what gives water its taste.
Mother Nature has also been horribly abused by us, and we can't go and drink from rivers and things anymore because in this country you will die if you drink from our rivers.
Correct.
So where do we get most of our water in urban environments?
So obviously Johannesburg water is a major contributor. Our water comes as far as Lesotho. I don't know if you saw that content that I created.
Yes.
That we do borrow water from other countries in order to fill our reservoir or dams and then further it into reservoirs. And so that journey is quite long and everything happens in between that. I was having a conversation backstage now about the chlorine that you can actually find in your tap water.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
And there was the conversation that it tastes so bad. And I said, well, that's on you. It's not on the municipality. Because chlorine is a very good sign that the system works.
Oh.
It's a very good sign that the system works. The closer you are to the source of water where it's treated, the higher concentrate you'll taste that chlorine. The further are you, obviously it travels further, chlorine dissipates.
Right.
It evaporates. It's meant to be chalk-like, so residual, coats the parts that it travels through. Chlorine has been used to disinfect water for decades. It's a very healthy sign that the system works.
If you think about a pool, for example, you have to keep adding chlorine, right? Because it does.
Keep it,
it dissipates, as you say. Okay, so let's just get into the specifics of this because let's assume that our water is clean. It doesn't have like E. coli bacteria in it and all of that stuff.
Yes.
It's a very dangerous assumption to make because that's not always true.
Yes.
But we have had very good quality water for a very long time in South Africa, and particularly in Johannesburg.
Yeah.
Rand Water's got a good reputation. They've done mostly a very good job. Obviously, there have been ups and downs and all of that. But let's just talk about the quality of water. And you say it's on you. I mean, people, I know lots of people who are taking all kinds of precautions themselves. They've got filtration systems, which help.
Yeah.
They've got things like they bubble ozone through it. There are all kinds of ways that people treat their water before they drink it or put it in their food or whatever else they do.
So safe water is different to quality water.
Yeah,
I think the
about that.
municipality now gives you safe water.
Okay.
It's treated. It doesn't mean it's quality water. So there's still a level of microplastics. There's still pharmaceutical traces in your water. There's a lot of stuff in your water that you take for granted. There could be lead from the pipe.
Yeah.
All of that just comes straight out of your tap. But the water has been treated for safety, for potability. So it is on us if we're saying this is not good enough for us. It is on us to filter it. So say, how can I have quality water along with safe water?
Okay,
Very different things.
So then tell me what quality means to you.
So quality you'd have where you can eliminate chlorines for taste.
Okay.
Removing medicine from water. Now, one filter doesn't do everything, else we'd all be buying the same brand. There isn't one product that does everything, sadly. But you can look for products for whatever your needs are. Some people are obsessed with microplastics in water.
Yeah.
Forgetting that it actually comes from your polyester clothing. You wash it in the machine, it lands up in your water supply, but people will send me a message say, Candice, I'm no longer buying bottled water because of microplastics.
Because they're worried about the bottle the water's in.
Correct. But then you're buying other beverages. I can't. I nearly die.
And I mean, all of their food is packaged in plastic, but they're worried about bottled water.
So you're prepared to forgo quality water for tap water with everything in. And tap water is not the enemy. I advocate for that all the time. We need to be able to take our tap ourselves and feel like we have the skill set to filter out our water.
Okay, so what do you do?
So all of my water at home goes through a filter, and then I will put it in a pitcher again in the fridge if I'm using that. I do use natural water in my coffee machine, but I like to shake it up every morning. If I want a different tasting water, that's what I go with.
And you can tell from the coffee what the water is like.
I can tell from the coffee what the water is like. Of course.
Yeah. So
Some waters are thinner, so they have a very silky texture, which means the coffee is a lot more glassier in look.
Is that a good or bad sign?
Neither are good or bad. It
Oh,
really
okay.
is preference.
I've heard of not hot, hard and soft,
Soft
water.
water,
So
correct.
soft water is obviously, and it depends on where you are. Some people's tap water is hard or soft,
Yes.
but soft water it takes longer to wash it off your hands, for example.
It
Is that
also
right?
it have a lower minerality,
Right.
but also compared to a hard water would have heavy calcium. So
Right.
the ratio between calcium and magnesium is higher, so it'll be
Okay.
harder. Water, you'll see they'll filter out the calciums, leave higher magnesiums to give it a softer taste.
Okay.
So hard water is like really a load of calcium in that water. You can feel it in your hair when you shower.
Yes.
And again, going to the salon is a completely different experience. You're
Uh-huh.
like, you can buy everything that they gave you and used at the salon. Go home and try it at home.
Yeah.
My
It's
hair's not
different.
gonna come out like that.
It's because the water is different. And then we
Okay.
question our technical ability to do our hair, but in fact, it's the water.
The nature though has discovered through trial and error, I suppose, over millions of years, the best way to make water interesting, tasty, quality, all that stuff that you spoke about, mostly through filtration in the soil and in
Right.
rock and in sediment.
Time. It takes
Yeah.
time.
I mean, then it gathers in these underground water reservoirs, and that's where boreholes will get the water from, and that's where most of our water that we drink comes from, right?
Well, a borehole water will be slightly different. Remember that where the water is located is very important. So having an aquifer that's protected from its natural environment will be your natural waters, some of the bigger brands that you know. It's on the outskirts. It's not contaminated in any way. Whereas a borehole water is directly located, it's close proximity to us. So you'll have different coliforms, which are type of
Okay.
bacteria, which come from animal and human feces.
Even if
Which
it's
is
quite
found in-
deep down?
Correct.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So filtering borehole water is absolutely important. It's not
Essential.
a step you leave out and say, I'm
Right.
trying to save money. Don't do that.
Okay.
Because coliforms are marked as a red flag. You don't want to be drinking that.
Sure.
All right. So
So
you
very
brought a
different.
whole bunch of stuff here, and this is
Yes.
where it gets fun. I mean, I encourage people to actually go and subscribe and watch your YouTube, because that's the best place to figure out what's going on here. But what have we got? Well, you brought a
So-
whole lot of stuff, and I know James and Dory and everybody else brought water from home, and they said that they want you to
Yes.
tell them what you think of their water. So we
Correct.
might do that as
And
well.
I told him it's their problem. I did, because I said it's on you to filter this water. You're telling me about bad taste. Also, he made me coffee with water straight out of the tap. I was like, you're aware that you did this.
Oh,
You're aware.
okay.
Sure.
Anyway, so
So-
I'm going to stand up. I'm going to give you guys some to try.
Okay, let's do
Okay.
it.
We have
Yeah,
mugs
let's do
this
it. Yeah,
morning, but
cool.
at least we have
Perfect.
good quality.
I'm gonna put this
So
one
let's
aside.
put that- Okay,
All right.
so I'm going to start with two.
I'll just talk for you because you're not in front of the
Okay,
mic.
so
So otherwise,
when we taste water, we ideally want to taste at room temperature.
okay.
It is the winter now.
So not super cold.
But- Correct, but they're vastly different. So they're going to be. It's not like you're not going to taste the difference between the two.
Okay.
Okay, what do we got? A Valpre. Okay, we all know this one.
Yeah.
Did you just smell it because you can smell Valpre?
Is there any things I should do?
Swirl it around.
swirl it.
No, so water,
just give it a bit of a.
water is less pretentious in this way than a wine.
Okay.
Because it's not select. Everybody should be able to enjoy water. So
Mhm.
there's no practice on how to drink water.
Okay.
It's just understanding the minerality and what you can expect from that. So Valpre, we know this is a natural water.
Mhm.
It has a 15-year vintage. We're talking about filtration. It takes
Cool.
15 years beneath the Earth's surface
Ooh.
before it's captured and then bottled for your enjoyment.
So let's go.
So-
This is good. This is good quality stuff. then.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Also important with South African brands anywhere in the world is that you need to be able to have a third-party accreditation to product. So many bottled water brands start in SA and they have these great ideas like I'm going to greenwash people, or I've started a box company, but the quality of water is not there.
Okay.
It's compromised.
Hmm.
So it might look
And
pretty on the
who
outside.
certifies these things?
There is an accreditation here called SAMBA, South African National Bottled Water Association.
Okay.
They also write legislation for the government,
Okay.
and they use a very high standard called the Codex system, which it's an international standard that makes sure that bottlers meet water quality at an international level, but that the bottling process is also as good as the water itself.
Very good.
It doesn't help you have dirty pipes. But you've got
So
amazing
tell us
water.
what to look for in this
Okay.
water that we're
Yeah.
tasting now.
So low minerality. It's not going to have. This has got an 80 milligram in total dissolved solids. So that's very normal for a South African palate. That's what we produce.
Yes.
You're not going to have an influx of flavors. It's very crisp. It disappears
You
afterwards.
say South African palate? Like, do other countries have a different palate for water?
Yes.
Okay.
Because we geologically we come from different places. So our water tastes different. People in Limpopo will tell you that the water is very different to Johannesburg.
Yes.
It's
Mhm.
heavier in
definitely.
minerals. So that's their preference because it's nostalgic. You grew up like that.
Right.
Hmm,
So if you
okay.
go to like Greece, they serve high mineral waters for breakfast. I nearly died because it's not what I'm accustomed to.
Okay.
It's terrible.
Okay.
What
was-
did
it
it
was-
taste like to you?
It's
when-
too heavy. I was like, this is like dirt. But
Oh,
I
right.
can't use that vocab.
Is there too much taste in it?
Yeah,
Sure.
too many minerals.
Okay.
So
Because
a
this is fairly
pronounced flavor.
tasteless.
Yeah,
Correct.
it's
Yeah.
like regular water that I would
correct.
drink all day, every day. Okay.
But that's what we're used to. So for us, we're not taken by surprise.
Okay.
Okay.
By something. Okay. So we'll move on to another product which has been on Netflix and vice versa.
Is it Fiji? I'm kidding.
You're trying to get-
I've
trying
tried
to
Fiji.
kill
It's, that's very expensive. It's very expensive, right?
Yeah,
Fiji,
it's
but
like
Fiji
hoping.
is beautiful because it's water that's high in silica. So
Okay.
it's very, if you feel the outside of a Fiji bottle, it's like that silky smoothness. That's what the
Yes.
water's like on the inside because of the
Uh-huh.
silica element. And there are very few waters in the world like that. So
Okay.
this is a 3 bays. It is a water that is, water typically has 8 minerals.
Uh-huh.
This has 23
Yep.
different naturally occurring
Wow.
minerals. So, exception taste.
All right. Sounds good.
Okay. And what would these additional minerals include?
Jeez, the list is endless. You
Oh,
can have
okay.
you can have higher concentrates of
You can have-
zincs.
Yeah.
You can have more salts than others.
You mentioned silicas. You can have
Silicas.
light metals. You could have heavy ones that
Correct.
you don't want.
Coppers,
Yeah.
Okay.
all naturally occurring. So this is one of the really rare sources.
And
in
then you
the
get
world.
the salts as well. So you get nitrates and you get
correct
chlorates and
yeah,
chlorides. And,
chlorides.
yeah.
Nitrates we'll get into. So nitrates in water should technically, there is a limit in every country is different.
Mhm.
South Africa we have 10 parts per million. But some waters are they're allowed to bottle up until that limit.
Okay.
But for me, they should be non-detected or a 0.01, not
You don't
sitting
wanna
at a
taste them.
7.9 or an 8 for me. That's not quality
No.
water.
Plus, of course, you're starting to get towards.
Yeah.
And someone
the
brought
higher
up
end.
in the comments here like alkali and acid. Also very important. Water's pH should be 7. It should be
Well, we'll talk about
Dead
that, right?
center.
Yeah. So pH for me, you don't buy water according to the pH. One, because I don't know if you've seen these TikTokers. They're all over the place with their little pool drops.
Yeah.
Yes,
And they
and they
and they're
check.
saying, look, it's more acidic, therefore it's unhealthy for you. But in their collection of waters, they have 3 municipal tap waters and 2 natural waters, and then you're not comparing apples with apples.
No.
You're now just saying this is more alkaline, therefore it's better for you. But that is unnatural. That was a tap water that you put through a filter and then put through an ionizer, which raises the pH of the water unnaturally.
But also, people don't realize that inside your body, you have certain parts of your body that are very alkaline because they're doing chemical processes which
Yeah.
result in alkalinity.
Your stomach is not one of them.
And your stomach is hugely acidic.
Correct.
I
So
mean,
no
your
amount of
pH are like
alkaline
3
water.
in there.
Correct. So
You know?
no alkaline water is going to change that for you. But
Right.
people drink alkaline water Monday to Friday, and then on the weekend it's sparkling water.
Is there a difference between still and sparkling?
Yeah, sparkling has CO2 added to it.
So,
So
like,
same mineral composition if it's the same brand.
Carbonic acid.
And correct, and that drops the pH.
Hmm.
So all of a sudden you're going to have a pH of 6 now as opposed to an 8,
Mhm.
but Monday to Friday you're on 10.
Yeah, so basically you're
It's
neutralizing
crazy.
because you add an alkali to an acid, and guess what happens? Neutral.
Correct.
And anything goes into your stomach, and guess what happens there? All becomes acidic.
It gets eaten alive.
Yeah. So
yeah, so the water,
you could be drinking alkalis all day long, and it
Correct.
wouldn't make a
Yeah.
damn difference. Don't believe that for a
and
second.
also for companies to make like an alkaline water 10, 11, 12, 13, and people phone me and say, Candice, what's the limit on this alkaline? I'm like, the limit is the end of this phone call. That's it. Don't phone me
So,
again. It's too
what
much.
was this called that you've given us
This is
now?
called 3 bays.
and you can taste the.
It's an Australian water. It has a
the
TDS
minerals.
of about 1,300.
You can taste it.
It's warm, right?
Yeah,
I
it's
was
got
like,
it's got a lot going on in there. So,
It's very.
so people like it because you've got
coppery.
these 20 minerals.
I think they like the contrast of taste. It's nice to be able to taste water. If this is not a South African palate preference.
Yeah,
by
it's
any
not.
means.
Mm-mm.
1 in 12 people would say, Candice, I love this. Everyone else would say, I don't know what this is.
But you can buy it here?
No. So I had these products as part of water menus for
Oh.
that tasting
Nice.
experience.
Okay.
But I'm so pro having, like, really enjoying the waters that we have in South Africa because we've got exceptional sources.
Mhm.
We always feel like we've got poor quality water. We really don't. We really
No,
don't.
I think that's right because also we beat up on ourselves being the worst at something.
No,
but
we've got exceptional.
we've got
exceptional
okay. This is nice, but I think I'd
Well,
tire of it.
Yeah,
It's quite nauseating, I find.
Yeah,
I can't drink too much
it's
of
quite
it.
full. It's like
Correct.
you almost want water to be a bit boring, frankly.
Yeah.
Because that's what we like, though. Exactly. This is why Valpre is such a comfort
Yeah.
for me, also.
Yeah, there's a lot going on here. I don't
simple
like
enough.
this.
It's beautiful enough. Okay, so
But with this type of water, I know this is not wine, but like, is there anything that I could possibly drink it with to kind of
you
help with
can. This is a
the,
red
the
wine
taste
water.
of
Ah.
it?
It's a
Okay.
red wine water because it's fuller and it's warmer and it expands. It's exceptional with a red wine, and
Someone-
then we would use a still water. For it.
Dusty Nose asks in the
cool.
comments, what about fluoride in our water? Because it's again
Yes.
the conspiracy theorists go crazy here, but they add fluoride to our water because they say it's good for our teeth.
Correct. So some conversations around the world would be that government shouldn't be allowed to self-medicate us,
Okay.
medicate us, because
Yes.
that's what they think it is.
Right.
That we should have the option to have no fluoride, but filter it out.
You can.
And in bottled waters, it occurs naturally in very small doses. So
Right.
it is a natural element.
Right.
But if you're not happy with that, just filter it out.
You can.
Correct.
In other words, it's on you.
it is
again.
it's your
It's on you.
problem.
Okay, what's
your
next?
problem. So
Cool.
this is
This
a
is
water.
fun.
It's called Roy. It's from Slovenia. It's the world's most
Ooh.
magnesium-rich water.
Okay.
Ooh.
It has a TDS of 8,000. So we've gone from an 80 with
Is
Valpre.
it just me or does it even look a bit milky?
Correct.
It does, hey?
It's been exposed to air. So this is all the magnesium that sits at the bottom.
Oh, wow.
All right, now magnesium is a metal. It's a light metal. Magnesium sulfate is famously Epsom salts, which you would use in a bath or whatever.
Mhm.
You've got other magnesium salts which are, chemically fairly inert. It's not a very interesting element, which probably means it's healthy.
Yeah.
The more interesting an element is, the more dangerous it is usually. So
like how you put
why
that.
would we want more magnesium?
It's just an essential part of our bodies and our nutritional needs.
Because most people take a magnesium supplement of some kind.
to sleep better,
Yeah.
etc., etc. Yeah. But this, from a taste perspective, you'll
Oh
find
God, no!
Oh,
You know what this tastes like? It tastes like
no, I don't want to
it's
drink
first
it.
of all it's very
Grassy.
it's very salty.
very.
It tastes like you've put a tablespoon of salt in a beaker, let's say a jug,
Yes.
and you've dissolved it. It's like really salty.
So they consider this a healing water. There's also
Healing.
healing. They say if you drink 500 mils of water of this every day, that you would never age. But there's a lot of theories to.
Oh please, you're gonna
water.
age.
But
You don't like that? Not
it's,
good.
it's hard, right?
Look at Simphiwe's face.
Crazy.
Girl,
All of these waters are natural. They're made by Mother Nature.
Okay, amazing.
So it's a great experience to have, but also not my taste.
And people just drink this like on its own. Whew.
No,
It's
hard.
probably expensive to buy.
Yeah, I think it's about 30 euros a bottle.
Sure. Okay,
so
I mean,
to be drinking 500 mils every day was hard cost.
so not to be pretentious about this, because people are asking you like, are you picking up the citrus tones or whatever? But you will pick up, and this is where you're expert, and that's why I like watching your stuff, is like you will pick up certain things. So this now, after you've had it in your mouth for a while, it feels a bit sort of gravelly,
yes.
almost as if you'd put stones in water and then
And a
you know
very
how you
dry.
could sometimes taste the stone in it.
Yes.
There's a lot of that going on.
And there are a lot of waters that taste very earthy.
Yes,
That is
that's it.
just, again, the filtration process. Even from, I was over in Athens last year and I tasted 150 different waters from across the world. Even in that category of low minerality, so very little minerals, the
Mhm.
waters taste so different.
Yeah.
So it's not only minerals alone that create that taste. It is the filtration. It is the land.
Let's just cut to the chase quickly. What's the best water you've ever tasted?
Dun, 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 dun.
It's probably the one that I haven't tasted. I'm
Oh,
still waiting for it. I'm waiting
come
for water.
on.
I'm waiting for water
Up
from
to
Mars.
now? Up to now?
Sure.
What have you thought? Oh wow, this is totally different. It's so superior.
There was a water in Greece. It tasted like flowers.
Ooh.
What?
Yeah, I've never tasted such a floral water in my life.
Flowers?
Yeah, it smelled florally. I was like, what is this? And it was a super low mineral water. I was like, you put it in the wrong category. Something's gone wrong with and it was the most yeah, it smells like flowers.
Wow. I
And
never
water
ever
generally-
thought someone would describe water as tasting like flowers.
This is
was
yeah,
crazy.
this is amazing. Okay, I
Okay.
really, if you can't let me just explain to anyone who's watching or listening to this and thinks we're talking shit. So to be clear, like we've had 3 different waters. One, Valpre mineral water, which I think most South Africans will at some point have tasted.
Yes.
Then the second one was this very
Breathe.
it's very heavy kind of water.
Yes.
This Australian one with all of the different minerals in it. It was nice, but it was
Quite heavy.
yeah, you'd get sick of it quickly, I think.
Mm.
And then this one, which is like salty as hell.
This is like
It's
a
full of
cognac
magnesium
waters.
salts.
It's a no.
It's not
Yeah.
it's not really my thing. I
It's a no
don't
for
like
me.
it.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, it's too much. But this is not a hydration water.
Okay.
Okay.
They also bottle this only in a 500 ml because that is the maximum nutritional value per day.
Yeah, you
that
couldn't
can-
handle more than that.
You couldn't.
Oh, it'd be
I can't
horrific.
do more than one sip.
Yeah.
Now, another important thing when it comes to the taste of water is also the carbonation.
Okay.
Yes.
Some people would say, I'm sitting in a restaurant, the water's flat. The water isn't flat. It's designed to be that way.
Mm.
Okay.
So we have something called an effervescent water, which is that gentle bubble before a big classic sparkling bubble. So people expect South Africans, we love that big bubble
Yes.
as sparkling water. And so when
Right.
you get an effervescent, you're like, what has happened? It's designed to be that way.
Is that because it contains a certain small amount of dissolved gas as
Correct.
opposed to a large volume?
Well,
of,
it could have the same number of gas, but the pressure in which it's given to the water is different.
and are
So
there
you'll have
other
tiny
gases?
bubbles.
I'm just thinking off the top of my head, other gases that you could dissolve into water that would have a similar effect?
I don't know.
I mean, maybe nitrous oxide or something, but that would taste different then.
It would definitely from a taste
You
perspective.
see, we're also sort of used to the taste of carbonic acid, of dissolved CO2 in water,
Correct.
sparkling mineral water.
So even if the water goes flat, you still taste that carbonic
Yes.
acid. So
Mhm.
they
That's
kind
correct.
of always taste the same.
Yeah.
So another element which these two waters we're going to taste now are very different. One is naturally carbonated and one is artificially carbonated.
how's
Hmm.
water naturally carbonated?
So depending on temperatures at underground levels, volcanic areas tend to produce very high fluctuations of temperatures, and so you
Mhm.
have a carbonated water.
Oh.
So
That's-
water
that's
comes out of the
interesting.
ground sparkling. So this water
Okay.
we're tasting now is a naturally carbonated water. Tiny bubbles, it almost looks flat.
Okay.
And people like the tiny bubbles in champagne as well because they say that it's finessed
Hmm.
rather than that
Fancy.
it's these big bubbles. that,
These
you
big
know.
bubbles, yeah. So
I
try,
have
try
I have a
these.
friend whose kid is 4 years old and he calls it fart water.
Kids that have the best description.
It tastes as if it's water I've tasted before. Like can't
Mm.
really.
So it's same minerality. It's a 440 in terms of what
Okay.
we like as South Africans. This
Ah.
water has no salts in it whatsoever.
Yeah.
And it's got plenty bubbles, but tiny bubbles.
It's like a mousse rather than
Rather, exactly.
mousse
Like an
rather
arrow.
than okay, I got you.
Hmm. Okay.
I know this, guys. I know anyone who's listening to this now and thinking these people are so full
You're
of it.
cooked.
Like I've seen comments on your stuff as well, and they're like,
Yeah.
she's insane. But really, you can when you're sitting down tasting these things and paying attention, you can tell. So
Yes.
this feels to me like South African level sparkling water that's been left for a while.
Correct.
So a lot of the really coarse bubbles have been driven out.
But again,
now
not
you've got-
left for a while.
Yeah.
So that's it. And also naturally carbonated water clings onto those bubbles a lot longer than artificially carbonated water.
Yeah,
Open an artificial CO2 at the table, 15 minutes is flat.
it dances on the tongue a little bit, but it's not
It's not.
bubbles.
Okay.
Got you.
So then the same water we tasted earlier, but in a sparkling version, the 3 bays.
Okay.
All right.
This is it's a bigger bubble.
Okay.
Okay. You can see the bubbles.
Don't pour so much. I feel like I've had three liters of water already this morning.
Okay.
These beakers are tiny though.
Gareth, nitric water is not very nice. It tastes like batteries, says Congo Chris. Yeah, you don't. Again, if you dissolve any of the nitrogen oxides in water, you are likely to end up with nitrous acids. Those are not good.
I can see why we have beakers this morning.
Yeah, those come from
They're
my
on
house.
you. They're on you.
Okay, wow, there's a lot more bubble in that,
Bigger bubble.
and there's a lot more taste in it.
Yeah, but I'm not a fan.
You don't like that either.
But
No.
it's just, again, the same water that we tasted earlier, but in the carbonated form.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting that we also feel this need to have still and sparkling waters
Mm,
in the same brand.
yeah,
Because the water we tasted that's naturally carbonated,
Mhm.
Yeah.
it doesn't come in a still version
Oh,
because it's naturally carbonated. So people will say, well, where's the still option? There isn't. one.
no. 'Cause
That's just the way it
That's how they
is.
bottle it. And they where does that naturally made
Well, it's Polish.
Polish?
Yeah.
Okay. Very
And they
good.
draw probably about 440 feet for it.
Okay.
Also about a 400-year vintage, so long time in the Earth's surface.
I love that
because-
it's also
Okay.
called a vintage.
Beautiful, right? I
Yeah,
love
so-
the 3Bay's got a 2,000-year vintage.
Sure. What's the
Sure.
oldest water you've had?
I haven't had it. It's a little bottle that's sitting in Ontario, Canada, and it's declared the world's oldest water that they found in a
Sure.
mine shaft. How they determined that, I don't know.
Well,
but I was so tempted to take
I
it.
would think surely the oldest water in the world would be like an ice core that they would do in the Arctic. They would go down
Perhaps.
up to a kilometer or more.
But
and
would you
then they-
drink that water?
Sure.
Would you? Because I see all these TikTokers and they're scooping up this beautiful water, and I would not be there with no beaker scooping up water that's been locked away for billions of years.
It might be full of very dangerous things.
Correct. Viruses and things you don't even know of, and here we're
But take your
scooping up.
chances.
And because it's
Live a
it's
little.
an Instagram moment.
how about that? Like,
What's the worst water you've tasted?
It is the South African source. Oh, shame. We won't name
Ugh.
it, shame them. But it's a general consensus. People are like, what is that? People will say to me, water doesn't have taste. But then give them
Yes.
that water and they'll say this is
Horrible.
disgusting.
So it comes
So
from here.
we agree
Is
that
it from KZN,
no,
Pumalanga?
no, it's closer to home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gauteng.
I'll tell you away from the table. Yeah.
Oh. Is it available commercially?
Yes.
People
So
buy it in the
major
shops.
Correct.
maybe
And it
still
is
water from my
terrible.
friend, you know?
Oh, so Simphiwe found. Just explain where your water came from.
So, you know, we have puzzle shops, right?
Mm.
And there's been, well, it's been proven that like some of these puzzle shops don't sell legit
Correct.
things, right?
Yes.
Like Coca-Cola, and you think I'm buying Coke, like Coke is Coke. But also the water, guys. I think there's something
Fake water.
something
Sure.
fake about that water where I'm just like, this is not it. I don't know where it's from, but my friend, nah.
It's so true. So counterfeit products is a very real problem.
Even with water, ne? I'm not
Correct.
crazy.
Very,
Okay.
very real problem. And I've seen some people as well. They go into these sponsor shops and they're like, Candice, I bought one from Checkers.
Right.
And I bought one from here, and they are not the same.
Yeah.
You know? And I try and play good cop, bad cop. I'm like, let's just check the temperature. We check, and they're like, no, we know. And the reality is that that is happening. But counterfeit products are obviously criminal activities, and they shouldn't reflect the bottled water industry. Do you know what I mean? It's easy to.
So I had the best water I've tasted recently was in Pumalanga from a mountain spring.
Beautiful.
And it's cold because it comes out of the earth high up in the mountains.
Ooh.
And it just tasted so pure and so clean. And it was pure and clean because you could see right through the kind of spring and the pool that was underneath it all the way to the bottom. And it was just perfect.
That doesn't necessarily mean it's clean, right?
Well,
I
it
always
tasted
tell
like
people, please don't
tasted
just be
like
going
that.
to streams.
No, no, no.
Knocking
I
us-
mean, sure, and just because it comes from underground, as you evidenced earlier with boreholes, you
Yes.
can't be sure that that's clean.
Mhm.
But this tasted amazing. Or maybe I was just convinced it was because it was in such a beautiful setting.
yes, or you're tired and thirsty. But it could be. It could be an exceptional water.
Yeah.
But we need to, if you are hiking and traveling, and take a little filter with you.
How many
Please.
people? How many people do what you do? Because you said you went to a tasting of
Yeah.
hundreds of different waters
So
in
now you
Greece.
can go to a school.
Yeah.
Okay.
For me, I'm self-taught, so I have made it my mission, especially the last 5 years,
Yeah.
to be in everybody's business.
Yeah.
Because you can't say that you're the best at what you do unless you know what your neighbor is doing.
Yeah.
And so I've immersed myself in everybody's business when it comes to water to see what is the landscape of Africa. And it's been so fruitful like that. So you can go to school, by all means, go and sit in Germany and learn how to taste water.
Hmm.
It isn't I didn't find that it was relative. Everybody needs to be able to treat their water, understand their water. And so I don't recommend just running off and thinking you're going to have work tomorrow.
So Carl says the oldest water on earth is Joe Biden's saliva. And yes, okay. So Carl has said he knows what water it is. It's Nestle water. He says it's disgusting. Now I happen to not like that water either.
He happens to be a smart man.
Okay, yeah. So I'm not gonna. That's probably that. It's so soft.
Yeah, the carbonation is also very different. Listen, they're selling water, but
Sure.
it doesn't appear to be people's favorite.
Azalea says there's an aquifer in Kuruman in the Northern Cape. It smells weird, but people get their water there for religious reasons.
Yeah, so religious purposes for water is massive.
Yeah, of
Don't know if
course.
you saw my story on-
Baptism.
Yeah,
Right.
I was gifted a 5 liter of Zamzam water.
Yes, that's from underneath
It's
the
from Mecca.
the Kaaba in Mecca.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's beautiful. Again, from
There was a
from
spring that by legend, Abraham's wife was wandering through the desert, and she couldn't find water, and then she prayed, and then
yeah,
God sent water up through the rocks, and that's the Zamzam water.
correct.
I've tasted that too.
Yeah,
Someone brought
it's
me a bottle of
lovely.
that.
High minerality water.
And have you ever had water from what's the other place that Lourdes?
No.
Apparently that's also religious water. You know, that's where the Madonna appeared to people at some point. But there are all these places in the world where fancy, strange, different waters come from.
Yeah, so water is multifaceted in that way. We've got the human rights element, we've got the taste element, we've got the religious aspect to water. It's and spiritual. So people believe that if you talk to water, that it's going to do different things for you. So there are a lot of things, but when it comes to water itself, we've always got to come back to the basics. Like people will believe that Zamzam water is the only alkaline water in the world, and that's not true.
No.
There are hundreds of thousands.
So
of
do you
alkaline
collect
waters.
water as well?
I do.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I have a water library. I try and collect water, and I
That's
sort of
amazing.
I harass people to bring me water back from the places that I'm like, please. They're like, but customs. I'm like, listen, we need the water for the library. It's got to go in.
There are all these legends in ancient mythology about the fountain of youth. So people have always attributed magical properties to water too, depending on where it comes from. The water at the top of a mountain is more pure and special than the water at the bottom in a lake. There are these incredible lakes all over the world where I'm sure people are also taking water home in bottles. And then they think, well, this is the best water ever, and I'm going to get a subscription to Water of the Month Club or something. Are there any things like that you could subscribe to, that you can import water
Yeah, they are.
in quantities that you could use all the time?
Yeah, and for tasting, you can get boxes internationally. There are a few.
Okay.
As you said that, though, it took me straight back to a moment where here in South Africa, we are now bottling seawater.
Yeah.
Oh yes,
Oh, yeah.
girl, that's been
Yeah.
People do that.
my people thing.
Yeah.
But legitimate, but I've never seen it packaged in a supermarket and in the wrong section. And this is a massive concern for us because
Wasn't there was that cult in KwaZulu-Natal that
Yeah.
was selling water for a while, like some Christian cult, weren't they?
But that's also linked to a major brand. you know?
Yes, yes.
So unfortunately,
Exactly.
with some of these brands, their reputations are tainted because of these things.
Yeah.
But we've got to be able to separate those.
Yeah,
you
because
know,
that's just the label.
Because it's still correct. Because that water is quality water. It's accredited, which means it meets international standards. On the shelf, that's
Right.
something that you would buy from a trust perspective.
Sure, even though it's crooks.
And listen,
Hey.
correct. How you decide to do that
Sure.
afterwards is up to you.
I remember when studying history that ancient Rome was famous because they had fountains. They still do. They have fountains in the street that you can drink from.
Yeah.
And some of these are 2,000 years old.
Unbelievable.
Pipes that were made of ceramic or lead. Obviously, you don't want too much lead.
No.
They say that could have been the cause of the decline and fall of the Roman Empire, or at least a part of it. But it's amazing to me that they would transport water. They didn't have pressurization in those days like we have now. They would transport water over kilometers through aqueducts, and then it would come out in these fountains, and people would drink from there. They would take water home from there. They would wash in it.
I wish that we had that.
Oh yeah,
because it's
pretty
it's
amazing.
so nostalgic. Also, I love, but nothing in water can be trusted at this point. Like nothing. I feel like,
Yeah.
I mean, I traveled to New York and I did a few travel stops last year.
Yeah.
And I was too afraid because I know better.
Yeah,
I was too afraid.
too scared to drink the water.
Yeah. So I buy filters from the countries that I go to. Yeah, I'm that person. Like you can't arrive.
So
with
when
your
you say
car-
bifilters, are these the ones that you put in the water?
No, these are ones you'll put the water through.
Through, okay.
So, and even though some don't do what they say they will do, so you have to look for accreditation. Just like you're looking for accreditation of bottled water, you have to look for the same thing with the filter.
Does water, because someone says here in the comments, water has run down streams for centuries. Of course, there's only a certain amount of water on planet Earth. We have a water cycle, so all water is eventually renewed. There was a big thing that went on not so long ago, some movement where people were talking about trapped water. Did you hear about this?
No.
Okay, so a bunch of complete lunatics and environmentalists of the extreme nature were worried because people leave a little bit of water in their plastic water bottles,
Okay.
and then that gets put in landfills and things, and then that water's trapped and it can't rejoin the water cycle.
Yeah,
I mean,
no.
it's still at some point going to leach out. It might be in 100 years, 500
Correct.
years, 1,000 years,
Yeah.
but this was a serious concern, and there were like girls crying on YouTube videos and TikTok going,
But also,
"Oh, the trapped water! What are we gonna do?"
you shouldn't waste water.
No,
Right
sure.
down to the last sip.
But
I'd, like
The
make
question here is
emissions,
about whether water has an expiry date. So bottled water, does it have an expiry date?
So every country is different.
Okay.
In the US, it's perfectly legal to sell expired water because the FDA believes that water, if stored and filtered correctly, can be infinite.
Yeah.
So it can
Quick
hold.
question on that. Would that expired water taste different?
No,
to-
it shouldn't.
Okay.
No, if it's stored and it's sealed correctly, it should be perfectly fine.
Okay.
Here in South Africa, we have expiration dates on bottled water. Companies would use it for stock rotation purposes.
Okay.
But also, we're so accustomed. Many of these manufacturers produce other products as well. So by legislation, you have to have an expiration date. But the South Africans, like if it's one day over, they're going to die from this bottle of water with this because it was the day before. It shouldn't be the case. So water doesn't really expire if it's stored and packaged correctly. But then again, you need to be buying from a reputable brand that you know that that's the case.
Mapillo says, is water from the air conditioner good for drinking?
Ask him to let us know. Also,
What's-
be scared if you go to people's houses and they just offer you water out of the tap. I know somebody who said, they're putting in a borehole and then they send me the first results. I
Yeah.
said, please never invite me to your house.
Yeah, because it's bad,
Because
right?
I've seen those results. And then they send me post filtered water and say, is this any better? We're happy with that. But people just do and they invite you over. There's no chance of going.
Yeah, you don't want to accept an invite from someone who's to come round for some water. Yeah, it sounds dodge. What's the most expensive water?
A product called Svalbard, which has about nearly a $200 price tag to it.
Is it
the
from
one
Svalbard
with
in
the
Norway?
expensive,
In Norway. Correct.
lid. I think I've seen the bottle of it.
Yeah, so overseas, I mean, what's classified as the most expensive water could be ones that have diamonds on them.
Yes.
But we're not selling water then, you're selling a diamond. So I've excluded those from the list because it's nonsense. It's for the sake of bling. But that is a water that a friend of mine who I've come to know through the industry traveled to Svalbard, brought water home for his wife for tea.
Oh, wow.
Beautiful story, yeah. And then they were like,
How
had this crazy
romantic.
idea and said, let's go to Svalbard. At that point, there was no legislation on how to bottle icebergs. Now, these pieces are not, you're not hacking pieces of the iceberg off. These are pieces that have already broken away.
They've
melted. They're floating down the
sure.
ocean. So they take pieces that are too small for wildlife to make use of, and then have commercialized that. So and to offset again for every bottle you purchase, you
So
save 100
it's
kilos of
iceberg
iceberg.
water.
Correct.
Okay,
Also,
Wow.
again, goes through filtration. Remember, all bottled water is filtered.
right.
People, the minute they see filtration, they say it's tap water. It's not the case.
No.
All bottled water is filtered.
Sure. There's a lot of very interesting stuff here. What do you look for when you buy bottled water?
So we want to buy,
when you look at the label?
you want to buy accredited product first.
Okay.
So familiarize yourself with what those brands look like. These are tested, which means that if there's a problem with the product, you know who to go to. And where you buy your water is equally important.
Mm.
You don't want to be buying accredited brands from unaccredited places.
Right.
But that's the first thing. Then you want to
Okay.
look for your choice of water. It will say natural water, spring water, prepared waters. Those are the three categories we have in South
What is
Africa.
prepared water?
So prepared water is water that can come from any source, but essentially it allows certain treatment options
Okay.
that you can put it like antimicrobial treatment, but it also changes the mineral analysis of that water, which is fundamentally different to natural water or spring water.
Okay.
Those categories, you're not allowed to change the physical composition of the water. Certain treatments are permissible, like UV or ozone, but you can't change the substance of the minerals. Whereas prepared water is like free fall. You can filter, remineralize, put it through ozone, ionize it. It falls into that category.
And does this stuff go not just for the water that you consume into your body, but for the water that you would use to wash, for the water that you would use to that you'd bath in, that you'd water the garden with, that you would wash your face with?
Well, water has different purposes, right?
Yeah, of course.
So
but you usually use the tap water for all that.
Correct. But
Oh.
I mean, we're going to be realistic about this.
Of course
If you
not.
want-
She's going to bath in Valpray.
No one's going to do that. But that's absurdity. But this is what people
The
think.
Dalai
Why
This
Lama?
is what
Sure.
people
Why
think
not?
Candice does. I'm like, it's not
When
quite
she
the
gets
case.
home, she's bathing in,
Oh, can you
in
imagine?
mineral water.
And Valpray doesn't do a 5 litre water either. Okay, so
No.
the chances of me filling a bath with Valpray are very small.
No, it's ridiculous.
But you can install filters if you want to go so far as to take again chlorines and calciums out of your water so your hair looks better by all means. But I mean, you're going to bath in normal tap water. It's
Right.
treated. It's good for you. But anything that you consume should go through a filter, in my opinion.
Very good. Listen, we've only scratched the surface. I think there's so much more that we could talk about here. I've loved this. I knew it was going to be fascinating, but
Yes.
I'm just blown away by how fascinating it is. So, Candice, thank you so much. You
Thank
can
you for
find out
having me.
more by going to @watersom with 2 M's on TikTok. That's where all the stuff is. You can find out more by going to CandiceJansen.com as well. I just love the fact that you're an expert in this. You've got into it. I think it's going to become a major thing. You have all these corporations now having water days where they have water tastings instead of wine tastings. I think that's
But
awesome.
from an education perspective, right?
Yes,
Because that's the
absolutely.
if you do a
Oh.
water tasting and it ends here for you, then you've defeated this purpose.
Sure.
It is about learning from here on out.
There we go.
Because you will see water differently even as you walk out.
I love it. And I love that you are an expert in a field that there aren't a lot of people that are expert in.
Yeah.
Because that makes it that much more interesting to learn from you. You're condensing the information for us, which is terrific. Okay, everybody, we will see you on Monday at 6 a.m. I'm sorry about all the sound problems we've had this morning. We will try to figure out what that was and get it back on track for Monday. And otherwise, have an awesome weekend. We'll catch up with you next week. Ciao.